One of the greatest benefits of any online game is the ability to play that game with other people. This is especially enticing in the gacha genre of games. With all of that effort that you put into grinding pulls, ascension materials, and character gear, some players just want the opportunity to show off their shiny toys and beautiful crit ratios to other players. Unfortunately, Wuthering Waves was a game that released with very limited co-op potential. While you could engage in activities like shared echo farming and material grinding, the repetitive nature of the farming and the very low overworld material costs to actually level up characters meant that the novelty of this mode wore off very quickly. There just weren't many objectives or goals for players to complete. However, with the announcement of the new co-op event, Do Echoids Dream of Electric Sheep, and its actual implementation in the latter half of version 1.2, this has changed for the better. With this combat event, Kuro gave a purpose to co-op, with stages and mechanics purposefully designed around actually working with other players to complete one simple objective: keep your tower alive. It's an event that still has some kinks that need to be ironed out, but with Kuro's first foray into specifically designed co-op events, they've given us a lot to look forward to when it comes to future ones, and even new echo skills as well. Innovation is still well and alive at Kuro Games. Today we'll be discussing why this is the case, diving into the fantastic overall design of the Echoid co-op event, what gives it so much replayability and potential, and how many of its present mechanics might find their way into actual gameplay. Kuro is bringing a lot to the table, and while there have been a couple of hiccups with its implementation, the pros heavily outweigh the cons. As always, if you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. After finishing up a short initial quest with Cosmo, one of Encore's puppets, players can immediately access the new game mode. Its design is incredibly simple, and actually very reminiscent of tower defense games that were extremely popular back in the 2000s. Enemies spawn at intervals from 4 sides of the arena, complete with their own grappling points for easy access. Each wave spawns on a timer, and clearing out all of the mobs before the timer ends will award your team additional bonus points. With some of these waves spawning close to 20 enemies, what this means is that characters with a tremendous amount of AoE or short cooldowns on their abilities seem like the go-to picks. Using a bursty DPS like Jinxie seems really inefficient for this sort of content, right? That's actually wrong. With the final wave of each battle, a boss with a respectable amount of health spawns, allowing every type of DPS to get their chance to shine in the spotlight. And what this means is that there is a variety of different playthroughs and enemy encounters you get to experiment with, and when the individual enemy spawns differ from difficulty to difficulty, this adds a lot of freshness for you as you progress through all of the rewards. However, the wide variety of enemies, both in type and number, isn't the only unique part of this combat event. One new addition that is, in my opinion, the greatest is the inclusion of the Echoid skills. When you're selecting a character in your team's preparation, you must equip a unique Echoid skill from the selection of available ones before starting a match. These Echoids are very similar to the existing Echoes. You'll find familiar creatures like the Wind Gorilla, Impermanence Heron, and the Hortoise. But what you'll also notice is that each of these Echoids have Echo skills and effects that are completely different from those in the baseline game. Instead of a 2-hit combo that grants arrow and heavy attack damage, the Wind Gorilla instead launches into the air and slams a pillar into the ground, releasing AoE shockwaves over a duration with the ability to attack with more coordinated shockwaves if certain conditions are met. These Echoid skills gain more and more upgrades as you progress through the defense, granting more and more of those outlined abilities and upgrades. I highly recommend taking a look at all of the available Echoids, their names, and the titles of their ability upgrades. There are some very clear references to many popular video games that'll likely give you a chuckle or two. I believe that these Echoids are an absolutely fantastic addition to not just the game mode, but Wuthering Waves as a whole for a few reasons. First, these Echoid skills show that Kuro is still designing unique, interactive mechanics for players to experience across their gameplay. They're not afraid to experiment or think outside of the box when it comes to new features. Echo skills that leave lingering objects on the battlefield? Echo skills that interact with the abilities or attacks that other party members use? What this means is that the sky is truly the limit when it comes to their implementation of Echo skills. As long as Kuro is able to add new features, gameplay is never going to be stale. The second great part about these Echoid skills is that they're all derived from existing ones in the baseline game. While this is entirely speculation, I believe that Kuro is planning to release alternative Echo skills for these existing Echoes that will be very familiar to what we've seen in the co-op event. This would be one of the most player-friendly ways to add new features or mechanics into the game, as there would be no need to regrind Echoes and roll for new substats to gain access to these new abilities. They've already done the development work to code their effects into the game, so why not fully implement them in normal gameplay in the future? It's clear that there has been a lot of innovation in this game mode that's improved the overall player experience. However, this event has one very large downside. And that downside is also the reason why I'm releasing a video on the co-op game mode nearly a week after it initially launched. After experiencing this game mode for the very first time, I couldn't wait to get my hands on the new Echoid skills and experience combat with enemies that I wasn't destroying in 2 attacks. With the first few levels of the mode consisting of level 50 to 60 enemies, there was almost no challenge at all. Only the problem was, when I tried to play this fun game mode more, I discovered that this entire event was time-gated by several days. I believe that this was a huge mistake. This was one of the most engaging, innovative, and fun experiences that I and many players have had with Wuthering Waves' combat. It sucks having to wait 1 or even 2 days just to unlock the next difficulty. With certain Echoid skills locked until you reach those higher difficulties and early difficulties having close to no challenge at all, you are actively disincentivized from playing one of the best game modes Kuro has released. It is impossible to fully appreciate the intricate effects and interactions of the new Echoid skills, or experience any sense of urgency as you defend your tower when the enemies deal absolutely no damage to your character and fall over flat if you do so much as stare at them. When a game is too easy, it's not fun to play. That's why the combat in Wuthering Waves is so enjoyable. And when Kuro time-gated this event, they also time-gated the fun. Now that some of the higher level difficulties have been released and more of those Echoid skills are available, many more players are able to experience all of the fantastic things this game mode has to offer. It's just, why did we have to wait nearly a week to get to the meaningful content? Overall, Do Echoids Dream of Electric Sheep is a fantastic combat co-op event, but mainly if you decided to wait a couple of days before diving into it. The overall game mode, new Echoids, and variety in enemies is absolutely fantastic. We just should have been able to experience it all a lot sooner. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.